Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Thornburg, and I had an interesting case last week that I wanted to share with you because it highlights a lot of the current concerns and ongoing concerns that we have with our teenagers. I've often been asked to do more videos on teenagers. This satisfies that, but it also highlights something that's really important, and that is teen suicide. I had a child last week, a teenager tween, who came in because she was evaluated by the police the night before for a possible Baker Act. She had shared online a cut that she had made on her wrist and a comment about not wanting to live. And then that was reported to the police, and the police came to the family's home and performed a well-child assessment, and they determined that the child was not at a risk to herself imminently or to someone else. They did not Baker Act her. Obviously, the parents were outside of themselves, and they immediately called me, and we had an appointment the next day. Before I get into the visit, I just wanted to provide some sobering facts about suicide in teenagers, just to contextualize this and put this into perspective. And while we might think that this isn't something that happens at your house or could ever happen at your house, just take on these numbers just so you can see that this problem is much more widespread, and it unfortunately is a very big killer of our teenagers. And then I'll get into the discussion I had with that family. Suicide rates are 9 out of every 100,000 high school teens. 9 out of every 100,000 high school teens successfully commit suicide. 9% of high school teens have attempted suicide over the past 12 months. Women, girls, are higher in the attempts than men. 13% of girls have attempted suicide in the past 12 months, whereas only 6% of boys have attempted suicide. However, boys are more likely to complete the act than girls. Over time, the incidence of suicide has increased. From 2007 through 2021, there was a 62% increase in the incidence of suicide attempts. These are very sobering facts. You can see that this is a widespread issue affecting a lot of teenagers. When we're looking at 13% of all teen girls and 9% attempt suicide over the past 12 months. Seriously, have conversations with your teenagers. I love nonviolent communication, and that's where I wanted to take this discussion that I had with the family. The parents are loving family, and what was great about this is they have a good communication. I could see the girls' eyes light up and smile at me as I went through this conversation. Fortunately, they have a very good communication pattern. It was just a little bit not prioritized correctly, would be the best way to put it, because obviously everybody wants their children to be fantastic and healthy and happy and wonderful and productive and enjoying life. And the family didn't mean to kind of set up the situation like this. That's why this is going to be a quick turnaround. Both parents work. They have debt. They're a typical American family. They have to work a lot in order to provide a certain quality of life for their family and for the children. That work imbalance kind of created an unhealthy environment. The child is also homeschooled, so there was a decrease in the socialization. And so we have a child that is coming into a deep-seated need to socialize and to learn how to separate themselves from the family. That's what the teenage years are about. Remember, I always talk about ages and stages, and we want to match the psychological stage of the child with their development and how we parent them. And so we have a child that is entering a very important period of life where they need to socialize. They also need to start separating from their family. The child's being homeschooled. The family's working a lot. Both parents are working. So there's decreased ability for the child to leave the home and socialize. That also leads to more online socialization, which we know starts to make people feel bad in the long term. It was just a misprioritization of the family. When they first came in, they said, we would really like to do online therapy because we don't have time to take away from work in order to take the child. And I said, if something were to happen to your child, the last place you want to be is saying, I had to prioritize work over the mental health of my child. And now this is the situation we're in. That immediately snapped them into place because, again, we get stuck. Everybody does. So it wasn't a criticism against the family. We all get stuck as parents into our loop of thinking that our needs are more important than everybody else. And here this family had gotten into that same problem. That's that power down structure. Power down structure involves two parts. One is there's moralistic judgment. My needs are more important than everybody else's. And two, there is an office that provides an authority or a perceived authority or a false authority that justifies the occasion. So now I'm a parent. I'm really busy. I don't have time to deal with my children's issues. We all do this, so it's not a criticism of the family. But once you highlight that life is really, to make it wonderful, is just let's look at what needs are being asked by all the participants, by all the stakeholders in the house. And here was a child stating, not directly because she doesn't have the life experience to communicate this, but we have a child that says, I need to socialize. I need to have an identity identity outside of the house. I need to have an objective reality that's separate from mom and dad. And unfortunately, the homeschooling, the busy parents, the double working parents, and the limited access to friends resulted in a child becoming more and more depressed. And she didn't have an outlet. She was swelling up with emotions. And when they do this, they will cut, because the cutting provides a release, because that cut makes them feel alive. And that's what this girl started to do. And that cutting was actually a call out for help. It was a call out to say, hey, I don't know what's happening inside of me, but I know that these feelings are very, very strong, and I am feeling compelled to take action. And since I don't have an outlet, I am going to take action in a way that I can maintain control about. And then the child started cutting and then posted something online. So kudos for the child for taking active steps and putting this out publicly. So obviously appropriate action was taken. Kudos for the family for immediately addressing the issues. By the end of the appointment, as I mentioned, the girl was smiling because she could hear what was making her alive. She needs to socialize. She needs to have her own voice. She needs to have somebody to talk to outside of the house. She needs more socialization. And the family was saying, understand, we're going to reprioritize this. We're going to get this child in front of a therapist. They've already connected with a therapist. Almost definitely, this situation is on the road to recovery without, hopefully, and most likely not, any future possible problems like this. Thanks for watching.